everyone in. I'm just seeing whether it's going streaming everywhere. I'm just coming here. Trouble to what's going here? It's not going to streaming to one of the shows. Anyway, good evening, gentlemen. I'm just seeing it's. I'll introduce you all now. So these gentlemen, Damien Richardson, as you know, is been a co-host, and he was with me on the Shrine. Kane and Noah were one of three, a trio who were on the Shrine, and Giuseppe was with me when we got arrested on the Shrine. And I'm just trying to see why Cafe Lockdown isn't going on. Facebook doesn't allow. Thumbnails are being cropped. I don't know. So something, it looks like Cafe Lockdown's not going. Anyway, gentlemen, welcome to the show. We're going to have a show tonight where we basically talk about what happened, and we do our side of the show. Damien and I have been on, and we've talked about our version. And basically, let's start with Kane and Noah. Kane and Noah, how did you end up on the Shrine of Remembrance steps that day?
Doing it first. So we joined the protest or the march, you could say, roughly around Melbourne Central Station. We came to meet up with a few of our friends and some family because we all sort of share the rough same opinion. And we were all marching, but also simultaneously through police everywhere behind us, either side of us, all with tear gas. We were sort of, you could say, cornered or just followed into that direction. And once we got to the Shrine and once we all sort of gathered up as a group, we just decided to sit there for the time being, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know when I first joined the march that was where we're going to end up. But to be honest, ending up there, I thought it was a real nice place to sit just because this was the area that our grandparents fought for. At least this is the country, and this is where we pay respect to the people who fought this country.
Can I ask, did you run into these guys on the streets?
Towards the end, like just before getting up on the steps. But other than that, not really.
Did your brother your brother and your father?
Yeah, so my brother and father were at the back of the march, maybe a couple of hours before we got to the Shrine. And yeah, my old man was managed to get away by going into a store, but my brother was shot in the back and arrested.
And is he okay?
He's okay. He's a bigger bloke, but it was still uncalled for, and it was out of the blue. So.
And did the police give any warning before they opened fire?
From what I heard, no. I think it was tear gas and bullets straight away. He didn't have time to turn around before he got shot, if that sort of makes sense. He was shot point blank in the back.
So he was already leaving the scene, I take it, before he was shot at. So it was unnecessary for the police. They'd already achieved their aim, which was to remove us from the Shrine. And they just sort of started to take a few pot shots at your brother.
No, this was actually before we even got to the Shrine. So this was when I came to meet up with my brother and my old man. My brother had already been arrested, and he was marching at the back of the march because he was more or less, he was there to support, but he was also there to keep an eye out for all the women and children, all the elderly people there, all the people that still wanted to fight for their rights, but they may not have been as big or strong as my brother, if that makes sense. So he wanted.
And why do you think they were shooting at the people? What was the point to that, in your opinion?
I wish I knew, but I couldn't.
How about you, Kane?
To be honest, I had been watching the protests on live throughout the week before I'd gone myself. And from what I had seen, there was a lot of heavy force used by the police, and I feel like I felt like if I could have gone there and helped at least one person or someone, then that would have been good enough for me. And I feel like that day I did do that. I sat there and I copped it, and it's very unfortunate how things went down.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I was there.
We'll get to you copying it a little bit later. Giuseppe,
Hmm.
how did you end up on the steps? When did you join the protest?
I joined about. You guys were coming from the Vic Market.
Mm-hmm.
And I was coming down from the north, and I live in the north, and so I was home waiting for news to see if there was a rally that day, and so I left, and I seen you guys, and I joined just about there, and we walked through, and we when I saw actually the shrine, I was so happy when I
Why
saw
was that?
because I felt like I don't know, it was the best place to go and ask for freedom.
Can I ask where you shot at all? Did you see? Were you shot at by police at all, or when you joined?
No. Just before, like I said, we went through the Victoria Market, and I can't remember the street name. We went down through, and we got to Flinders Street Station.
Yeah.
So we got through the city, and it was nothing there. No, we did. I seen police. It was the side roads, like they were guiding us to go.
They did say, yeah, that was. They had the resources to block us going to the shrine.
Yeah.
And they had it en masse, and instead they blocked all the side streets. So maybe they decided. I can't remember who said we go to the shrine, except I thought it was a good thing to do myself. Okay, let's go. How did it feel, boys? Because now you're seen as fascists. That's what the media and everything is saying. How did it feel being on the steps? Explain to me. I mean, everyone's seen the footage, but give me a view of what you were watching when you were sitting on the steps with us.
Well, all around us I felt very safe being around the people I was, because it was all love. But from what we saw coming towards us, me personally, I wasn't scared. I know Noah wasn't scared, but it was I can't even explain the. Sorry.
I'll have crack. I'll tell you what, it was definitely scary. Like across from us, there was probably well over 1,000 police. All of them were armed. Some of them had riot gear. It was almost like they were coming to a drug raid or a shootout or something. But they literally came to a group of Australians trying to have a peaceful protest to stand up for their right. And as scary as it was seeing so many police out there with guns and riot gear, I did feel safe for two reasons. One, I was standing up for what I believe in, and if I had to stay there and they had to rip me off the steps and I got arrested for what I believe in, that's okay. And two, the support from all the people around me. Everyone around me had the same issues, had the same problems, all felt the same way. So that's why I also felt safe.
Can I yeah. I'll move on to Giuseppe. Why a lot of people were giving us ultimatums and offers, like, move to the side and go away, and there was people with loudspeakers who seemed to be speaking for the crowd. None of us knew who they were. Why? You said something beautiful to me. Why did we stay? Why? Because you actually, if I remember it rightly, my Italian accent, they're gonna drag my body off of these steps or something like that.
They have to take me with the force.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So why did you think, Giuseppe, it was important to stay on the steps?
Because it was a statement.
Yeah.
And they have no honor. They have no honor. In exactly the same moment, then they said, there is a safe passage to the right. Yeah, there is an ambush on the right. And that's what it was.
Yeah, because we were just letting everyone know they were offering us, they were saying if you go to the right, there would be safe passage, but we were already hearing from Sky News that everyone was getting arrested that went that way.
The first people left, then they came back and they offered it again, and some people was about to leave, and someone said, no, we have news. There is no safe passage. And it wouldn't have been. That's why they didn't want even us to go. They wanted us, yeah, you can go through the middle, but in small groups.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
let us go through
They
the
wanted
middle.
to guide us to then tackle, because it's obviously easier to tackle a small group.
Yeah.
I didn't think we got offered the right to go through the middle. I thought they had all sorts of excuses.
No, they wouldn't let us go through the middle. No,
like
definitely.
they couldn't move. Their horses were there. They couldn't move the horses out the way.
Their tank was down the back there. They couldn't move their tank.
Tank, yeah, because they had no. Yeah.
It makes
It was
sense.
out of petrol. It was out of petrol because they'd been chasing us all day.
Yeah.
And the horses' legs were tied from
Yeah.
Can I ask what
Damien said
was?
something beautiful.
Sorry.
Damien said something beautiful that day. He said in Latin, never surrender.
Yeah, Nil Desperandum. Yeah, that was the insignia on my grandfather's second 43rd. Ironically, the insignia on his second 43rd sign was Nil Desperandum, and I asked him what it meant, and he wasn't a man of language, but he said it means no surrender, and that's basically how they ended up holding out against Rommel's tanks, at the siege of Tobruk. No surrender.
So here's a question. Look, Tosca Valley, why are you guys rioting? Because Tosca watches the Channel 9 news, apart from my thing, and he believes everything. And he's actually from a country, I believe it's Turkey, where he would have gone through this sort of oppression over the time, and yet he thinks we're rioting. First off, where are we rioting?
No, we didn't smash any windows. We didn't attack anyone. We were just trying
To help.
stand
up for what's right.
And what is right in your opinion? What were we saying? What were the crowd wanting?
The freedom of choice, the freedom of being able to choose what you want to do, and not to be dictated, and not to be losing your job because of this. And I honestly feel like it's the right thing to do, to stand up.
And yourself, Giuseppe?
Freedom, because freedom of choice, but it is what is connected from there onwards.
And did you have? Sorry.
Because it's not just the freedom of choice today of the vaccine, or the other thing, or something else, or the job. Then it's going to be more and more and more and more and more.
And can I ask to what are your thoughts on the vaccination passports? Was that another reason you were there for the segregation coming?
That's like class A citizen, class B citizen. It's like apartheid. It's like Jewish having to wear a yellow star on their clothes.
Segregation.
Segregation. Jewish weren't allowed to. This is history repeating. Jewish weren't allowed to go and do shopping. They weren't allowed at the park. They weren't allowed at the coffee shop. They weren't allowed in restaurants. That's exactly the same.
So, and were any of you holding any weapons, or did you see any of the riders holding weapons?
No.
Okay. Did you see anyone at the shrine holding weapons?
No.
I mean anyone. Maybe the other side. Like maybe all the men in Women in Black. They had a lot of weapons.
All the students.
So basically, it was a political march demanding that we had freedom of choice of what went into our bodies, and no segregation in our society. That was why we were there. And so that's why we were there. And all right, let's move on.
Can I just say, Tosca saying rioting, I mean, that's such inflammatory language to use, particularly at this particular instance when we're on the shrine. There was no one rioting. We linked hands and we sat down. And we gave the police the opportunity for us to vacate that area too. There was a lot of negotiation between us and the police. They said they were operating in good faith. We were happy to leave, but we wanted to leave with the dignity with which we arrived, which was down the middle. Was that so much to ask? Well, apparently it was. And we were told in no uncertain terms that that wouldn't be happening. Preferring that, we would rather shoot at you all and grab you and cuff you and, violate your space. Well,
they actually said, look, do you want to, we're going to have to start shooting while we were still sitting there. Now, this is a test, and the answer is someone has to put their hand up if they're here. Now, the police moved forward every so often 2 meters until they were literally right in front of us and all playing with their batons. I remember I told one guy off to sort of chill out. But while this was happening, one protester got up and did the really fascist thing of picking up the rubbish and cigarette butts and putting it in a plastic bag and putting it to the side before he sat down and got his head kicked in. Who was that?
I tried to help.
Yeah, Noah helped me clean as well. He was helping me clean, and same with Ryan, the other friend that couldn't make it tonight. We were all cleaning.
I have to say, and I'll still leave rioting up. If that's rioting, Tosca, I don't know what to say to you. Maybe you're hating us because you're too scared, even though you're a big man, to actually hate the police state that's happening. So it's easier to hate us. That's happened in history, Tosca. I don't hate you for it, but it's cowardice, my friend. Now, that was the most beautiful thing I saw. I was quite honored to be with all of you anyway, but that was so moving. I couldn't believe it because we all knew what was coming, and instead of being scared, you were walking before them, picking up the rubbish, which did that act, because they saw you doing that too, did that act make them any friendlier when they finally arrested you?
No, not at all. No,
okay, well let's move to the arrest. Giuseppe, I'm going to start with you. What were you doing when they finally came in to arrest us?
I was holding on to you and Danny like this, and they tried to.
And you got the grip of a gorilla. I just
you didn't hold me hard enough. I can tell you that much.
But yeah, go on.
They ripped us apart pretty much. They throw us down the steps, and it was this stormtrooper with a big square shield, and he actually jumped and just came down with the shield on top of us, on top of my face, on top of you, and then he got up and he did it again. Yeah. Like we were a threat or something. We were resisting. No one was resisting. They handcuffed me. The handcuff was so tight, and because I had a shoulder reconstruction, my arm actually doesn't go behind my back as far up. They actually pull in my arm and say, "Look, you're hurting me." He's not, stop resisting. My arm doesn't go higher than that behind my back. I'm not resisting. They didn't care.
Did they say anything else to you?
They call me dickhead. They call me thug. And one of the cops asked for my name and said Giuseppe, and he goes, Italian, eh? Vaffanculo. Then he's fuck off in Italian. Yeah? So my answer to him was, "You come with me? No problem. We can fuck off together." Yeah?
Before I go to the boys, I don't know if you've heard this, boys, but the guy, I believe he was bouncing on my head, and because they had a big shield, I think it was bouncing on both mine and Giuseppe's head. He was going, "Stop making me do this. Stop making me do this." And I actually said, I'm not making you do it.
Yeah, I didn't hear him, but that's,
Yeah. I'm going to move on to the young boys. And let's start with Kane. Kane, can you tell me about your arrest? And I want you to be as honest as you can, man.
I saw them walking towards us. I had my friends next to me. I had my hands up the whole time in disbelief. I'm not going to lie, I had a grin on my face because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Yeah. At this point, there was another bloke behind me recording. I saw one of the officers go to reach his phone, and my friend Ryan had said something. They grabbed him and dragged his face on the ground. Then they had grabbed me after showing they had nothing on me. They had tossed me around the crowds of police, and while they were doing that, I was copping an earful from everyone. They stole property from my bag, and they gave me a hefty fine and sent me on my way.
What did they steal from your bag?
I have a mask that stops any sort of fumes from getting in because I am a painter. I have asthma, and they took that mask. Yep, no protection.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you saw it, you saw other people getting arrested before you got arrested, yeah, Kane? Mm-hmm. So what made you, now you're a young man, and I would have been really I was intimidated at my age, but your age too. What made you stay? What made you not take flight? Because there was still a chance for you then to have taken flight. Why did you decide, no, I'm going to stay and I'm going to cop what's coming my way, even though I'm grossly outnumbered as far as physical, power is concerned? The other side's got all the power. You have none. You have moral strength.
I feel like I was there for all the people that couldn't have been there, that would have been there, and I was brave for them and for myself. And I feel, and that's pretty much it. And I feel like these people shouldn't scare us. They're not, even though they have these big shields, big guns, it's not intimidating. There's no reason to be scared of it.
Mm-hmm.
No reason. We're not a police state.
Able.
At the moment,
we just look like one. I'm just going to, before I come back to you, Noah, Kane, sorry. Noah, would you please tell us about your arrest?
Quite similar. I was one of the lower steps. There was a few boys in front of me that got ripped off the steps and sort of, just pinned down on the ground before me, but similar sort of situation, arms both up. I sort of got ripped
So just stop there. So you saw what they were doing to others.
Mm.
Did you see what they were doing to us three, or did we get arrested after you?
You were just after us.
You were.
But it was sort of the same group of area because I was right near Giuseppe as well when he got arrested and stuff.
Okay.
But unfortunately, you boys were after us. But
I did see Giuseppe on the ground getting yelled at by the police with my friend Ryan, and it wasn't. Yeah.
But going back to Noah, so Noah, like Kane, you saw how aggressively they were arresting the ones in front of you, and yet you didn't. All you did was put your hands up and wait.
Mm.
And why was that, mate?
The truth be told, let me get there. I was not afraid of what I believe in. I wasn't afraid of getting arrested. I wasn't afraid of getting hit because I know, for me personally, in my heart, what I stood up for, in my heart or in my mind, I believe was the right thing. And I believe that sometimes the police or the government could use fear or intimidation, but I wasn't scared. I was scared of getting hit across the head. I was scared of them ripping my shoulder behind my back. But to get arrested, to get a fine, I wasn't scared. And who knows? Even if I could just stall the police for a little bit, maybe help, because there was kids behind me and stuff. I was hoping maybe if they could get me, some people at the back would have had a chance to get away. As weird as that sounds.
No, it doesn't. It's a really massive trait.
Hopefully I slowed him down a bit.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say this because my show, and I'm going to beat Damien to it because I know he wants to say it. The Anzac spirit was alive on those stairs that day, and it wasn't the fascists dressed in black with all the shields. It was you young men. You young men, if the ghosts of the grandfathers were there, they would have hung their head in shame for what they were seeing, but their hearts would have been glowing for the courage of you three men.
Mm.
I saw it. I couldn't believe how brave and courageous you were, and I felt the hope in the next generation was like, what's that thing when you're doing running and you hand each other a baton, like a baton,
Relay.
or like a baton or a fire inside you guys. I really did, and I really believed that maybe the police was so brutal because they knew it.
Yeah.
They were so angry, not at us, at themselves, which is why they were so aggressive. I mean, they were so aggressive; it was unbelievable.
Well, state wants to crush that spirit, and there's no doubt about it, because that's frightening, especially from young men. That's why Shane Patton's always going on about it, the commissioner, always saying it's a 25 to 40-year-old male violent demographic, as if somehow that demographic has no right to stand up and speak for itself. I wonder if Shane forgets that he actually fits inside of that demographic himself, or suddenly it doesn't matter anymore when he's saying it. It only matters when he's, slandering us with it. Maybe it's time for Shane to resign and let someone else not of that demographic take his job if he's really so committed to that cause, as he says every time he speaks in front of the media. So, Shane, I put it to you. Maybe it's time you just rolled over, mate. Let someone else from a different demographic take your job. Maybe someone who's maybe just a little bit more even-handed at going about the job.
Sorry, it's a little emotional. Now, the other thing too, we weren't aware at the time, but when we got back home, did you guys become aware that they'd actually shot at the pedestrian, at the protesters who were running away in the back?
No.
Were you aware of that at the time?
I could definitely hear it.
Yeah. It was absolute madness after I got ripped off the stage. Like, I had three, I couldn't tell you what it was. It sounded like a cannon. Could have been a flashbang or something. But once, shortly after I was ripped off, all hell broke loose. Like, I should consider myself lucky that I only copped off, getting, stood on a bit and getting my shoulder ripped behind my back, because there was a lot of people who copped it worse that day.
I never thought they would have been so disrespectful in doing an action like that on a sacred place, like would be the shrine, or like we say in Italy, the milite ignoto, the unknown soldier. I never thought they would do that. I served in the army in my youth. I did my national service in Italy, and they have the duty, and they have the, let's say, if an order is wrong, they have the duty of questioning. There is no empathy in these people. There is no, they like stormtroopers. And their excuses, I'm just following orders. Nazis, like the Nazi.
I had someone say that to me, actually. Once he was out of earshot of most of them. He was leading me away with a mate, and he just kept going, this isn't personal. This isn't personal. I think he said it 3 times. And I said to him, well, it feels personal. And, anyway, Noah, how did you feel afterwards in the next few days? How's it affected you?
I'd be lying if I didn't say I felt a little bit shaken, a little bit sore, a little bit, rethink my thoughts. Did I do the right thing on the day? Should I have left? Just a lot of rethinking. But after a week and having a good thought about myself, I'm pretty happy with how everything. I wasn't happy with how we were treated, but I'm happy with our decision to stay there and just stand up for what we believe in. If we have to get ripped off and arrested, at least we did, holding our ground.
Yeah. And how about yourself, Kane? How's it affected you, mate?
Well, I've copped it from both ends. I've copped a lot of support from random people. But I've also copped a lot of hate from people that I've grown up with, that I've known for years. And to be honest, I'm proud of myself. I'm proud that I went there. And it's just, I don't know. I still can't believe what I did see from that day, to be fair. It's like it was something from a movie or something from, you know, some sort of documentary. Because not gonna lie, it did shake me up a little bit. Not gonna lie, it did. Yeah, but I'm proud of myself. I really am.
How about yourself, Giuseppe?
Look, gonna say be sore because the shield just hit me on the face, and you know the fact that they twist my shoulder around, be sore on the body, but very very proud of that moment. Very proud with my decision to stay because. But at the same time, you know, felt like, I don't know, powerless in a way. One, I would love to sit down with these people and ask them why, just why. Give me a reason. Why would you do that?
Be that brutal, you mean?
Beat up, and you know the reason for their behavior. It cannot be just following orders. These, you know, you understand. To do something like that, you gotta have a meaning. You gotta have. You can't be that shallow, that empty.
Just following orders, yeah. It's amazing when I was arrested.
Children go up there. There was this father with children at the back of us. At the back, they were running away. They went up there and they start shooting. There are women, children. There's, you know, peaceful, no armed. Not what threat were we?
If we are unsuccessful with our peaceful protests in changing what's happening, how aggressive do you think they're going to be in the future, Kane?
That's something that's been playing on my mind recently. It's I feel like if it continues to go on the way it does with the policing, it could lead into something a lot worse, and it's something that does scare me. But I really feel like us as Victorians need to stand up and trust in our eyes and what we're seeing right now, and realize that it's not on at the moment.
Well, I just imagine they'll try and implement more fear, if that makes sense. And I'm worried that one day it'll come to the point, hey, we're shooting rubber bullets at them and they're still protesting. What if they ever brought out lethals? And the thing is, I'm hoping, one, that will never have to happen in this world. But two, if that was to ever happen, the masses of people in Australia would look at this and see like cops shooting unarmed civilians with lethal rounds just for having an opinion or just for standing up for what they believe in, and understand that that is absolutely ridiculous, if that makes sense.
Of course, they're using the cover of the pandemic to say that's why you can't protest. And so do you have any relationship to that idea? So it's like, no, we would let you protest normally, but this is just not the time because of this pandemic. So that would be their immediate response. What do you say to that?
Thing is, like, if it's time to protest, it's time to protest. Yeah. If you believe that what's happening is unjust, or if you believe that you need to make a difference in the world, you can't wait. Yeah. Like, it's not like, we agree with you, but just do another year of lockdown, and maybe after another year you'll realize what you already know today. Like, if you genuinely like believe in what you stand in, you can't wait.
Yeah, just speak out.
Like enough is enough, basically. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. Like, and they're just almost like trying to prolong it, just like they're prolonging lockdown. Like,
on what evidence is the pandemic based? PCR test. The WHO World Health Organization declared it unreliable. There is a pandemic of false positives and asymptomatic. That's the pandemic.
Yeah.
False positive
do you-
and asymptomatics.
Yeah, it's we try on this show not to sort of just so we stay on air. We don't really
Yeah.
deal
So-
with that. No, that's okay.
My
Deal
fault.
with that. No, yeah, it is your fault, Damien, and I'll need that apology in writing, man. There's a we
To Bill Gates.
it's more where we are now as a country. Because right now, as a country, with that video I started, the good guys in the country, like this gentleman Tosca saying, so as far as Tosca is concerned, the men dressed all in, and the women dressed all in black with shields and things firing rubber bullets are the good guys. And the people sitting on the steps who've been shot at all day but still refused to go home because they wanted to be heard, and who looked like, they looked like they're at the cricket on the hill at the Wacker. There's a hill in the Wacker in WA where they said, you guys looked like you belonged there. You were singing the national anthem. And have you guys ever heard the national anthem? You ever sung the national anthem with as much gusto as you did then?
No, man. Dude, I
No.
lost my voice the next day.
It's quite amazing how, I mean, up to a few days ago, we didn't even know the words, and yet there we were belting it out, and it actually sounded like it meant something. You know what I mean? I've got a video of you, Noah, really belting it out. I mean, you know, you're like you're at a Queen concert. And it's just,
He won't know what it's mate.
yeah. There's okay. I'm just a bit thrown by, not thrown. It's just I knew the show was going to be emotional, and I'm emotional by what's really emotional is that our society there, through some of the haters, literally need to believe that you three are neo-fascists, you know, basically selfish, you know, degenerates. I mean, Damien, I can believe it, but you three,
We're
yeah, that's right. But they need to believe that. And why do you think people are so full of hate now, and they really anger? I mean, their families are being separated. You can't question stuff, and it's what do you feel is behind all that?
I feel like during the lockdowns, I feel like it's a conditioning thing. I feel like these laws have been set in place to lead up to something like this, in my opinion. And a lot of people are scared about it, you know. And
I also feel a big part of it is either a bit of divide and conquer or false security. If you can sort of pin people against other people, then they won't be looking for the real answer. Or if you can, exactly that. If you can tell people that once everyone's double vaxxed, you know, less people will be getting sick and there'll be no lockdown. It's for the time being, it's just a bit of false security. It's a bit of hope for people who have no hope right now. So people would rather listen to the government and cling on to that little bit of hope, which still at this point cannot be guaranteed, than to believe that they're at this point, like, we're running out of hope, and that's why we're fighting for our rights.
Before we move on, I don't usually do this, but I'm going to do this now to try lift the soul of the show. So I happen to take this video on the day. So let us rejoice, for we are young and free. In cold and soil and hell the soil, our heart is good by sea. Noah, I refuse to believe you've ever sung the anthem like that in your life.
Well,
Did you sing it like that in primary school? Did you, you know, put your little hands up and?
I don't think I've ever lost my voice singing the Australian anthem and waltzing the Tilda and classic Aussie.
Can I'm going to go on with a question for all of you, but I'm going to Giuseppe. When did you come to Australia?
Was 1999.
1999. Now, when you came to Australia, what was Australia to you then? You know, what was the good points you liked about it?
I love the way, you know, you're relaxed, you can walk in the street, everybody's friendly, and, you know, the Australian spirits, where, you know, I actually traveled from Melbourne to Mildura because I have some relatives there. My car broke down, I couldn't even speak English, and I just stopped in the middle of nowhere and to a mechanic, and this guy fixed my car. It was nothing. And I go, look, don't worry about it. I couldn't even speak English, you understand? While coming from Italy, where is, let's say, it's a beautiful country, but completely different lifestyle, where, you know, be more, a lot of criminality down the street, and, you know, so it's different than here, and I love the you know, that Australian spirit.
Okay, boys, what is it? Now, let's take it for granted that the Melbourne we live in now is a bit different from the Melbourne we lived in a few years ago. What is it? I'm going to start with Kane. Kane, what is it you miss about the Australia from a few years ago? Australian of the youth, mate.
Just being able to, you know, go out freely and spend time with your family, you know, be able to connect with your family, connect with your friends. And that's probably the biggest thing for me. And it's been like this for 2 years. And it's very hard. It's very different. Yeah.
Noah?
Oh man, I love everything in Australia. Like I'm classic true blue Aussie, from, you know, the animals to the flora and fauna to the people to the culture to the diversity. And I feel like a great big deal of what I loved from 5 years ago is still here today. I just believe that recently there's been a whole lot of in some senses things are getting a bit too political. But, like, I don't really want to get too political about the whole thing, but I do believe that a lot of what made this great country a great country 5 years ago is still here today. There's just a whole lot of different opinions and a whole lot of hate being spread right now, but it doesn't mean, like, Australia still isn't the same beautiful Australia it's always been. It's all about the people, the culture, the flora and fauna. It's not all just about the government. You get what I mean?
And another thing is also being able to
Emus. Don't forget the emus.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And also being able to go outside without feeling scared, you know, without feeling, you know, because you'd go out usually and you'd be scared to cop a fine if you have your mask down, and it's just this feeling of anxiety everywhere you go. You don't want to go past the 5K limit. You don't want to go to the shops in case you get in trouble. And it's
just the feeling of like you're always doing something wrong when you're not. You're just like, you're just being human. You're just going to the shops. You're just trying to live your life. But over the past couple of years, like, people just trying to live their life are now having to constantly look over their shoulder and are feeling like they're doing something wrong.
You're always having this conversation with the state. Whenever you do something, you're having a conversation. Well, if I go there and it's a little bit too far and I see that friend, well, I'll say that guy's my boyfriend because I'm allowed to have a bubble and he could be my boyfriend. Well, what if the police ring him up and they ask him if Damien's his boyfriend? He might say, what the hell's Damien doing? Oh, my God, you're having this conversation that's just ridiculous because you think you might have gone further than your 10 kilometres, or I'm at 9.5. This is the insanity that you're talking about. So it's not the virus that people are scared of. It's more the state.
Yeah.
Draconian impositions placed upon us by the state, which you accepted for a certain amount of time when you took it on good faith that this virus was going to be just the next worst pandemic since, you know, the Black Plague or even the Spanish flu. Not that I really know what the Spanish flu was, but they manipulate with that all the time as well. Oh, that was really terrible. What if this is just as bad, you know? Then it got to a point where you said, well, hang on, this is not worth it. This is not proportionate.
Hang on, 18 months after, we're all alive.
Yeah.
When did you, Giuseppe? When did you begin to sort of change? Like when you first heard about the virus and everything, like saw the Wuhan videos, were you convinced? Like, were you on board, or were you
Yeah, look, I will say the first 3 months. But then, because I had a lot of information coming from Italy where they were well ahead of us, because we were coming from a summer, was, let's say, autumn, so still warm weather, while in Italy it was winter.
Yeah.
So with the cold weather, and I actually remember, and that's the whole point. What it made me, let's say, aware. This doctor because what happened is in Italy for the first month and a half, 2 months, it was actually forbidden to make autopsy on dead people. Penalty losing the license because it was so dangerous. This virus could be still alive in a dead person. But then, in hiding, a group of doctors started to do autopsy and found the cause of death. Because, like they were saying, it's a new illness, and if you don't have the cause of death, you will never be able to find a cure for it. And they come up with a cure. And we're talking about this is the end
I'm gonna have to stop you there just to keep the show on air. I think that's interesting. You should do that in the comments, but unfortunately we don't live in a free world now where we can be free, but we can still freely talk.
So
but
anyway, I stopped believing this lie about
the narrative.
The end of May 2020.
Okay, yeah. And yourself, boys? I mean, were you believing from the beginning? And is there some point where you suddenly became suspicious or decided this wasn't the right direction to go?
Well, for me personally, I felt like it was during the first. It was when what lockdown was it when?
We've had 6, and 6 is like 7, 8, 9 wrapped together. So we've got a few.
Yeah. Well, you can go first. What was all right? Well, so I've always been a bit like iffy about it from the start. Not that I don't believe it is good to spread a vaccine and everyone to both be aware of this virus that is going around. But a big part for me, which really started making me question whether this was for our own good and better judgment, was when they brought out the curfew. Because something that could be in someone's best interest could not be the best interest for another person. So you got some people who, they might be like bakers and they might do overnight shit. They have to get up at like 2 a.m. and 12 o'clock like every day just to start cooking the bread so come morning it's ready. But, now they can't leave. Like what if their body clock was adapted to the night? So maybe for some people who work during the day and go to bed at night, the curfew could work for them. But what if you have people who work night shifts? The curfew would not. And I do understand that they can get what's the word I'm looking for?
Do you understand the science behind the curfew of why COVID somehow is more dangerous after 9 o'clock?
Well, the only thing I can imagine is them saying, UV rays from the sun help kill COVID, so maybe at night time it's more likely to be transmitted. But then at that point, then why, if we know that UV rays helps kill COVID, why aren't we encouraging everyone to go out and get a certain amount of sunlight or a certain amount of exercise each day?
Like they were at Bondi today, for example.
Do you feel too that what we're being offered now by the state, and Dan's saying the third jab, is basically a lifetime of fear and heavy policing. So for those who haven't taken the jab now, protesting, they're met with 100 or I don't know how many there were of us left on that day. Maybe I really don't know how many protesters there were, but you met with up to 500,000 heavily armed police, and that's to your first jab. This is for your health. And you're dealing with these guys who are like naturopaths now, like the current naturopaths. And so they're there to sort of, that's how we are now. And so it's hard to think that the future is going to be any less the same. So we're going to have to live in constant fear of this virus, and heavy penalties and policing if you're not, and segregation where basically if you decide not to get it, you basically cannot have a life at all. You're basically a prisoner in your house. Does that sound like in Australia you're really looking forward to partaking in?
God, no. It's not sound like the Australian I was born and lived in.
Yeah.
Great.
It's crazy.
It's almost unbelievable.
Yeah.
Which is why a big part of
it is unbelievable, isn't it? What I said then should sound like, what the hell are you talking about? It's not a conspiracy theory. That's what they're selling us. That's what they're selling our children. And why do you think so many people then are being compliant to it? If that's what they're selling, and I take it that the majority of people don't want it, why do you think so many people are just being compliant and actually attacking people standing up against it like yourselves?
I feel like it's fear of losing their jobs, fear of security, I honestly don't know why other people are throwing shade or having jabs at the people standing up for what they believe in. Because at the end of the day, it's got nothing to do with them. But I feel like these people are scared and they have been backed into a corner. And I have a lot of friends that have been backed into a corner and that have gotten it. And I think that's very unfair. It's very un-Australian. It's unbelievable.
Well, the thing of the show, and it's all opinions. My thing of the show is that it should be free choice. You want to take it, take it. You don't want to take it, don't take it. If you die, your problem. And that's
it's so coercive. It's almost too late for that, isn't it? Because it's been so coercive. Like when I was
that's not an option
every ad that came on was NAB's no longer called NAB, it's called jab. Have a VB is no longer have a VB, it's have a jab and then have a drink afterwards. It's just insane. It's a next level insane. It frightens me of it because it's like the state is the junkie and it wants me to be a junkie along with it. And I don't want to be a junkie, thanks very much.
The state is the pusher.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And now it's like people have got sunken costs. So they've bought into it. Like I think Kane was saying, they've bought into that narrative now because they've taken the jab and they want to believe if you guys would just shut up and stop holding out and you took it as well, we'd all be free, we'd all be able to go and see our grandmothers and travel overseas again. Do you really think they're going to crank up the airplanes that have been sitting idle on a tarmac for 2 years and suddenly we're all going to be traveling again? It's not going to happen. Nicole Kidman's going to be able to travel. It's not going to be a problem for her. The Prime Minister's going to be able to travel. That's not going to be a problem. Do you think all those proles are going to be jumping on planes again and going for holidays? I just don't. I don't believe it. I don't believe it for a second. So I'm sorry. The trust has been so broken. Now you got stormtroopers on the street trying to crack my skull because I'm sitting on the steps at the shrine. What? Oh yeah, no, you're right. The jab's a great idea, And the police are saying to me afterwards, "Well, how do you know I agree with this?" I'm thinking, I don't know, mate. You got me in cuffs. Pretty strong indicator. And he goes, "Well, no, I might think what you think, mate." You know what I mean? I'm going, well, okay. Uncuff me, which you did. So someone gave me a drink of water.
Can I ask, gentlemen? I'll start with Noah. Do you think if we all agreed and 80% of us got the vaccination, that they'll put down all those weapons and they'll put them away and they'll just go back to the blue and yellow and everything will be hunky dory? Do you think that will happen?
Well, no. The same way I don't believe that, at this point in time, even if 80% of vaccinated, we're still going to be in lockdown. Because if the government's still chasing zero and if vaccinated people can still get sick, then it is very likely, even if once 100% of people are vaccinated, they're still going to lock us down. And if they still lock people down, there will always be people who want to fight for what they believe in or just want to live a normal life, go to work, see their grandparents, see their family. Some people just want a normal life, and I believe they'll keep fighting for that till the end. And truth be told, if that's what's going to happen, the police are only going to up the weapons, up the forces, up the fear.
And Kane, I did have a great question. It just fell out of my head. Maybe Damien caught it since he's behind me. There's a. Do you think living in fear, which is what we have to do, is good for the human soul, especially the Aussie soul?
God, no. And we're a country of free thinkers, and it is a soul-crushing time right now. It honestly is. It is.
Well, we're coming near to the end of the show. I've come up with a saying that a few people are using in this time, that you might lose friends, but you make brothers and sisters. And I feel all of us are now connected, including Joel and Stephen and a few other people, and everyone else who was on the steps got arrested that day. Become like brothers in arms, even though we didn't have any arms. But that's how I really feel. I actually feel privileged to be there. I feel privileged to count myself amongst you. I don't know what the future will happen in the future, but it's a privilege to have been counted in amongst you guys. You guys were so brave; it was extraordinary.
Yeah, you were
extraordinary. If you guys if we were selling you to the future, I think Australia would be, everyone in the world would be wanting to come to Australia just to have a taste of what you guys were selling, rather than the people like Tosca. Tosca obviously wants his kids to live in complete fear and tyranny, but well, that's his choice. Can I ask, just in leaving Giuseppe, have you in your country had any experience with tyranny or stuff like that?
No,
or that was before your time.
Obviously, going back to the Second World War, Mussolini before, but since then, nearly really not tyranny was where many protests. I actually started young. At the age of 6, I was protesting with my godmother for women's rights.
Oh, really?
In the 70s. So, but not really tyranny, not to this degree. Even today, they labeled us as violent protesters. Barcelona last night, they burned cars. And the police still didn't shoot one rubber bullet.
Okay, well, this has been circulating now. I'm going to finish with a test and then come back to say goodbye to you. So this is a new magazine called Pro-Vax, Pro-Union, Anti-Fascist, which means anti-you guys. And so in the new morality of Australia, we had this quiz last night, but I'll give you the quiz again. Noah, this is, we'll start with you. It's pick the fascist. How'd you go? Any idea? It's a hard one. You want to see it again?
The weapon.
Okay, Kane. Okay, here we go again, Kane. Pick the fascist. Remember, you've got to use the modern morality, not the one you grew up with. You've got to be like today's morality. Pick the fascist.
I think it's the guy with the weapons and the big shield.
Okay, Giuseppe. Yeah, okay, we'll go with that. We'll see what the audience think. Giuseppe. And there's so many comments. I'm sorry I can't keep up all the comments tonight. The comments are going through the roof. Giuseppe, this one is really hard, man. I'll just get rid of that comment so you can see it. Now, I want you to really focus, Giuseppe. Pick the fascist.
Wow.
The one in red, obviously.
Yeah, she's out of control. That lady is out of control.
Obviously.
What you trying to do down there?
I'm sorry, guys, to do it as a humor there. Humor is a way to tackle tyranny. That woman, we don't have an interview with her, but we have heard from the Croatian community that she's fine. A lot of
Mary,
people saying they're saying she's a plant. She's not a plant. She's real. She was there at the protest. We've got images of her, so we're going to do a piece about her. I can't understand how anyone can justify that. So can anyone justify what happened to that old woman, which was even I'd say worse than what happened to us.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone want to crack at that?
That's probably one of the biggest reasons why I went to prevent stuff like that from happening.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? So you went there to make sure that didn't happen to an old person?
Well, the same thing happened to Noah's brother.
Yeah.
That day as well.
My brother was one of the frontline people who was locked arm. He was actually one of the first people to get pepper sprayed that day, and he was all linked arm with a few other boys. You know, they were blocked off at the back. They just wanted to keep going through, and yeah, so they thought if they could lock arms and just walk through, no drama would happen. But yeah, he got pepper sprayed, and that's when everyone started running through. But yeah, honestly, like seeing people like her help inspired me to want to go out and want to both protect the people who are there, who are just standing up for their rights, but to also support the people out there, because I felt that we shared the same opinion, and I wanted to stand by them.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's the ideology. It doesn't see the woman. The ideology doesn't see the woman. It doesn't even matter who's on the ground. You can see that they're just bashing anybody because it's ideological. You believe the COVID meta narrative or nothing. And this is a new meta narrative that I feel like has been rolled out for the Western world. And somehow they're trialing it on Melbourne. It's going to be rolled out across the world. You buy into the meta narrative or nothing. If there's a woman or a kid or whatever in the way, it doesn't matter because the ideology is stronger than anything. And that's what this has always done. That's what, fascism, communism, whatever you want to call it, has always done. The human's gone.
Okay, we're going to try and end on some hope, though. Giuseppe?
Stop getting me on.
Giuseppe? Oh, I just love you too much. You make me look good. Giuseppe?
Bad lighting. That's why I'm going to fix this up. I just noticed it.
Yeah. Giuseppe, actually, don't fix it up too much. Giuseppe, do you have anything of advice to offer to Australia? Offer to your fellow Melbournians?
Pardon?
Do you have any advice to offer to the people of Melbourne as we proceed forward?
We should stick together a lot more. We should just stick together a lot more. People should look at the big picture. We becoming a nation will be isolating. We look at inside our home and our own needs. I don't, if I can help my neighbor, I'll help him, but, and grow a pair of knackers, man.
Yeah.
Grow a pair of knackers. Just go out there.
No.
Put him in the sun. Maybe, they get tough.
I knew I was going to love having you on. Noah, do you have anything or advice or even a plead or anything you'd like to say to because the media will not, if the normal media had you on, they would paint you as a fascist. They would say you were horrendous, as we're getting some of the things. So as you got free space now, there's lots of people watching this. I think there's going to be thousands and thousands around the world watching this. Do you have anything to say to your fellow Australians?
That's a tough one. Well, obviously, to spread peace and love, not hate. To unite, not divide. It's okay for people to have different opinions. A lot of people have different opinions about different things, but that shouldn't cause separation and it shouldn't cause anger between two different groups. So my only advice is whatever opinion people have on this stance or what's going on, that's okay. But it's not a reason to hate your fellow Australian. Peace and love, not hate. It was a peaceful protest.
It wanted to be, yeah.
It wanted to be, man. I could have thrown a couple of swings in, but hands up. Just stand up, hold your ground, stand up for what you believe in. It's scary, it's hard, but there is a lot of Australians who might feel the same way. They could also be scared, whether it's in fear of the government or scared of violence with police. But there's a lot of people out there who feel the same way. And if we all unite...
So if you're scared, you die a little bit every day. and every time you bow your head down.
But yeah, that's all I can say.
You're gonna die just day once.
I'm just thinking, Giuseppe, if knackers start growing at my age, it's a good chance it's cancer. You know that, don't you?
No. You're fine. I go with war with you and him and them too. I go with war.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Yeah, absolutely. Most definitely.
Kane.
I feel like it's a
Wait
very
on, is there? Yeah, I know you said to me is there anything that you haven't got to say first that you wanted to bring up? Feel free to bring it up now, and then the same thing. And I'm going to let you end it, Kane, because I mean, I remember all three of you. I thought you were all amazing, but your act and the other thing that you did was after you'd picked up all the rubbish, the police were only moments from coming in. You moved it to the side so that they couldn't think we had a weapon or that people would trip over it. So you actually got it out, and then you came back and you sat down next to us and waited for what happened, and what happened. So, mate, the last thing of the show, not that you're any braver than Noah at all or your other mate, but you're the last of the show. The last word is yours, mate.
I feel like we shouldn't let this vaccine divide us. I've seen a lot of divide in families, a lot of divide in friends, and it's not called for, to be fair. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and I respect everyone's opinion, but it's sad to see the divide. So I'm just saying it's a good time to spread love and positivity, stay in contact with family, make sure you check up on your friends, because everyone's doing it rough right now. But we need to stick together and just spread the love. Yeah.
You want to add anything, Damien?
No, that's beautiful. That's perfect.
I agree. We're going to leave with you mob of louts singing the national anthem, and see you tomorrow. Stay in the studio. Stay in the studio. I'll keep you in the studio. We'll talk just afterwards.
Everyone for watching. Thank you for everyone for listening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Share to the world. Share it. Let the people hear another voice. There is more to offer the world than fear and violence. Okay, guys, you simply rock. Good night. So let us rejoice.